Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Bourbon Obsessed Bourbon and Distillery News Podcast, your commercial-free and therefore money-free bourbon podcast for Monday, October 13th. I am Ed, and this week I am joined by my usual co-host, friend, and bourbon aficionado, Dean Langdon. Dean, how are you doing today?
Doing wonderfully today, Ed. It's a beautiful day here in Kentucky, and good weather for doing almost anything you want to do, including sipping on some brown water.
It's always a good day for that. So you were visiting northern Kentucky yesterday.
I took the part of what I call a partial beeline tour. If you've been in northern Kentucky, there's an organized tour of the distilleries there. It ranges from Carrollton up to Newport, all the way down to Maysville. And I started in Maysville at Old Pogue Distillery. They have, I don't even know that I would call it a club, but you can sign up to buy their bourbon directly from the distillery. And 2 weekends a year, you have to actually go to the distillery. They don't ship it. And you have to buy a case. You have to buy 6 bottles of their bourbon. So, but there's a steady stream of people doing that. You get to sample their product. They have other products. They had an interesting, they're going to be 150 years old next year.
Wow.
So they were one of the first in Kentucky. Their DSP is 3 in Kentucky. So they've got a product called Limestone Landing. I totally screwed up and did not take a photo of the info sheet with the mash bill and all those things. I'm a bad bourbon geek. But it's 2 weeks shy of 12 years old, 110 proof, very tasty. Got to sample it and brought a bottle home. So next time we have a get together, we'll see what we think about that collectively.
If only there was something we were doing together.
Only. It won't be long. So what did you do? You went someplace the other day too, right?
Well, I have their old Port of Kentucky's. From when was that? That was like 3 or 4 years ago.
They usually do that every year. They did not do that this year because, as the distiller told me, it wasn't ready this year. And so I was sort of glad to see that. I liked that release from them. It's a single barrel release. They do age stated, barrel proof. 1 year it was like 136. It was really good. But not this year. No Port of Kentucky this year. So
what did I do this week? I think I did a bunch of things.
I don't know. Did you go visit any distilleries?
Well, I went to did the You Do Bourbon at the Heaven Hill Bourbon Experience. That's always good.
That looked great. Yeah, and I saw the Instagram on that. Yeah, and
I've wanted a bottle of that barrel strength rye that's on there, so I got that. And as we've talked about, or maybe Karen and I talked about, they're coming out with the regular release now of the Elijah Craig barrel strength rye. So we need to try that as well.
Yeah, I can't wait to get. I haven't seen that yet, but I'm dying to get a bottle of that because I like rye, and the Elijah Craig rye is good, but I think barrel strength will make it superlative.
Yeah, well, the one on You Do Bourbon was really good.
It's great, yeah.
And I think the You Do Bourbon one is, I think, a significantly higher proof, but the one in the real release is an older age. So it'll be interesting to give that a try. And then on Tuesday, it seems like so long ago. On Tuesday, I went to the Smoke and Oak dinner at Beam, which was really fantastic. So
I remember I saw that too. I saw the Instagram post on that. It looked like the food was the bourbon's always going to be good at Beam. It looked like the food was excellent.
The food was fantastic. I mean, they have it set up at different stations, and you go around, and like it says, Smoke and Oak. I mean, a bunch of it is actually being cooked over fire while you're there. Wow. I have a reel about it, which will show everybody what we had. But each course is paired with cocktails, and we had an amazing flight with it. It was it was really a fantastic.
Did I see maybe Lineage was part of that?
So Lineage 2. Yeah. One of the new Hardin's Creeks, the Beaver. So, the next Hardin's Creek set, which I guess technically isn't actually released yet, but it keeps showing up. It was at KBF, and now it was again here. So instead of being on 3 different campuses, although we'll talk about this on our new releases show, it's in 3 different levels of rick houses. So, the first one was at Claremont, Boston, and Frankfurt. And so you could compare what it was like, the same distillate distilled the same day, aging in different locations. In this one, you can compare how they are aging on different floors of different rick houses. So they have everything from the ground floor to the top floor of those 9-story rick houses, which I think Beam is the only one who has a 9-story rick house. So that's really cool.
I think you're right. Yeah, that'll be interesting to check out the different nuances on those.
Yeah. And then we also got the little book, The Infinite 2, the second release that's been missing in action for quite a while. Right. We got the Booker's Reserves 2.
The tequila finish?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's funny. I didn't notice the tequila part of it at all when I tried it at the Bourbon Festival, but I did notice it this time. It's still pretty subtle, but it's definitely there.
That's good. I got a bottle of that, and it's like I hope it's not an overpowering tequila finish. It can be great if it's subtle, but sometimes folks just finish it, and you wonder if they're not with Beam, but with some people, you wonder what are they trying to cover, and.
It's not overpowering.
And if it's subtle, they didn't do that, right? Yeah. So,
well, yeah. So it's a great dinner. I mean, the only little drawback was because of the weather. They're supposed to take place at the Knob Creek House, and I've never been to the Knob Creek House. But because it had rained 4 inches the day before, it was continuing to rain that day. They had to move it to the kitchen table, which of course, is the restaurant at Beam for anybody who doesn't know. That's of course a great place to go. Nice. Anyway, but I'd never been to the Knob Creek House, so now I need to get to the Knob Creek House.
Rain check, no pun intended. Yeah.
Well, I would do one of those again. I mean, it was really good. And the big surprise to me, really, not that everything. I mean, Beam's bourbons are fantastic, but that Lineage too was amazing. The nose is just fantastic.
Well, good. I'm glad I got a bottle of that at KBF. I'm glad to hear that.
Well, I got a bottle, and I actually bought another bottle at the dinner because I liked it so much.
Well, good. Now that there's 3, I can taste some of it.
Yeah. We'll open yours.
Yeah, that's fine.
I'm just kidding.
As long as there's a backup someplace, right?
But I bought the Infinite too, so we have that also. So give those a shot.
Yeah. All right. So enough about us. What about other distilleries and places like that this week?
There's quite a bit to discuss, but I think we're out of time. No, just kidding. All right, so
see you next week, folks.
We'll start off with Jack Daniel's Tennessee Whiskey and the McLaren Formula One team have announced a multi-year extension of their global partnership, continuing a collaboration that began in 2022. The partnership will expand co-branded initiatives, including limited edition Jack Daniel's Tennessee Whiskey bottles and immersive Jack's Garage activations in select international markets. Since its inception, the partnership has delivered special whiskey releases and fan events across Australia, Great Britain, and the United States, celebrating milestones such as McLaren's 2024 Constructors' Championship title. The 2025 limited edition bottle honoring the partnership launched earlier this year, I think we talked about that, in select U.S. markets and F1 race cities worldwide. So this is our second F1 story in 2 weeks.
Right. And for our F1 geeks out there, you should know that the weekend after this podcast, the weekend of the 17th and 18th, is actually here in the United States. It's in Austin. So it'll be interesting to see how Jack Daniel's does there in Austin. It's sort of home turf. I don't think there's an F1 race in Tennessee. In fact, I know there's not. But
I think one of those Jack's Garages is down there because I had Googled that.
Okay, yeah, that would make sense.
Yeah, so I think that's something that people can go to. I don't remember what the ticketing situation is, but I know F1
tickets are not inexpensive.
For the Jack's Garage thing.
Oh yeah, not this one.
Yeah, no, the
so
F1.
If it's separate, that's good.
Commensurate price.
That'll give more people exposure, to the Jack Daniels, and so
and the opportunity to spend more money.
Of course, yes. And McLaren is
could be free. Actually, I have no idea.
Well, it wouldn't surprise me. Getting in might be free, and buying the product if you're trying to sell product, great way to do it. McLaren is actually leading again this year in the F1 series. They have a what they call a constructors championship, and that's the actual team, the people that build the car. They're ahead of Mercedes by a couple hundred points, and McLaren's 2 drivers are first and second over the drivers' race. So they're knocking it out of the park as far as F1 goes.
Well, it sounds like they won the constructors championship last year.
They did, yeah. So it looks like they're going to perhaps have a repeat, although there's still several races to go.
So it sounds like if you're in the market for a car, you might look at a McLaren.
If you can afford a McLaren, you can afford to go to F1. So
and probably buy the Jack Daniels
without a doubt. Yeah. Right. Any whiskey you want, probably.
Hey, buddy. All right. Moving on. So Crown Royal is back for its 5th year, something I did not know, as the official whiskey partner of the NFL, hitting the road with the iconic Crown Royal rig, a massive 18-wheeler featuring 2 XXL double wood casks and the all-new Royal seat. This year, Emmy-nominated sports journalist Taylor Rooks joins as the brand's passenger princess, surprising fans at NFL games in 10 cities with premium seat upgrades and special giveaways. Fans can also participate in the Purple Bag Project, packing wellness essentials for active military members through the brand's partnership with Packages from Home. Those unable to attend can follow along online, track Purple Bags packed nationwide, and find game day cocktail recipes at crownroyal.com/Royal Rig.
Well, I know it is a burr in your saddle that we have a Canadian whiskey sponsoring an American sports league like the NFL.
For the second week in a row.
Yeah.
Last time it was only a team. Now
right.
It's a league.
And I get that. They are providing some charitable help to the military through their Purple Bag Project.
Absolutely.
They did 10,000 of those last year. They're up to 3,500 so far this season. And so, I agree it's a little bit ironic, especially in light of the way trade is going on today, that we have a Canadian whiskey sponsoring not just a team, but the whole NFL. But hey, money talks, right?
Yeah. I was unaware that they'd been the sponsor of the NFL for 5 years.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, I don't know. I'd be very interested to know what American whiskey companies such as Brown-Forman would have to say about it, considering their Jack Daniel's sales have, well, obviously taken an enormous hit with the loss of Canada.
Right.
So, yeah, I think it's
several other,
interesting.
Any of the big six, right? I mean, Jim Beam, right? Jim Beam is doing an F1 sponsorship, but, why wouldn't the NFL talk to them about being a league sponsor? So anyway, it's above our pay grade, but
no,
I just wanted to point it out to our listeners.
I do think it's unusual. There's a lot of big American whiskey companies. It's just very surprising that it's the second week we're talking about a Canadian whiskey sponsoring
an American sports event. Yeah.
Yes.
Or events.
Well, we had talked about them sponsoring the Houston Rodeo.
That's right. Yeah.
A couple months ago.
Rodeo a while back. Yeah, exactly right.
So, alrighty. So moving on. Buffalo Trace Distillery has announced the filling of its 9 millionth barrel of bourbon since Prohibition, a milestone achieved faster than ever before thanks to the recent completion of the distillery's $1.2 billion expansion project. The decade-long expansion, completed earlier this year, increased production capacity by 150% with new stills, fermentation tanks, warehouses, and other major upgrades. The filling of our 9 millionth barrel represents a historic chapter in the distillery's story, which began more than 2 centuries ago and is still being written today, said Harlan Wheatley, Buffalo Trace Master Distiller. Each barrel filled ensures that generations to come will be able to enjoy the same quality and craftsmanship that has defined the distillery since the 1850s. Since official barrel counting began in 1933, which I found interesting, Buffalo Trace has marked multiple millionth barrel milestones, the first in 1942 and the most recent prior to 2022. The 9 millionth barrel was signed by team members and placed inside Warehouse 5, or V?
I think it's V, yeah.
Warehouse V.
Yeah.
The world's only single-barrel warehouse will remain until the 10 millionth barrel is filled. Visitors can view the barrel during regular distillery hours or when they're standing online like this morning. So, yeah, that's quite the accomplishment.
It is, yeah. And at that pace, they'll be at 10 million in a couple of years.
Oh, yeah, it's gotten really rapid.
Yeah, so it's neat they have a special warehouse where people can look at that barrel and, ogle it and do that kind of stuff.
You've seen it, right?
I don't know that I have. The last time I was there, I don't know how long it's been up. I don't remember seeing that.
It's been there for a long time. So,
okay.
So if you're in the visitor center and you're looking at, what is it? It's not H. The one that's directly in front of it, the one that you go in.
Right.
So to the left of that, there's the aisle, the road that goes down all the way. There's not bottling, but the barrel dumping is up there and stuff. So straight ahead, I believe, is where it is.
Okay.
It's a little tiny building. It's not
I was going to say, it wouldn't be much.
It's very different.
So
you could easily overlook it.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, that's quite it. But I did think that the barrel counting for Buffalo Trace's barrel number predates Buffalo Trace by 60 years.
Right. Well, that was actually, that was at the end of Prohibition, right? That's when they started counting, once they started assuming production again, because they didn't.
What was it then? Stag?
Was it Stag or OFC at that point?
I think it was OFC prior.
I think you're right.
I think it's Stag at that point.
So.
And then it went through a bunch of different things before it became Buffalo Trace. So, yeah, so I thought that was interesting that the barrel counting is long before the Buffalo Trace brand actually existed.
Yeah, no kidding.
But, right.
So, plenty of, hopefully, if they're making millions of barrels, it'll be easier to find the Buffalo Trace products, right? Because we know that in some markets they're harder and harder to find. So,
well, we'll be talking about some soon, which I'm sure will just be falling off the shelves at Kroger.
Of course. Of course.
All right. So next, another story about Jack Daniels. Hence why the bottle is sitting in front of us. Barrel strength rye, by the way. This is the original release when it was actually a limited special release from 2020. And it's good.
It's wonderful. Right. So it's it's not a low proof. What do we have here? 131.1 proof. Yeah. And I don't know that I see an age statement on it, but it's wonderful. I just had the first sip, and if you can find a 2020 bottle, folks, you should snatch it up.
But the new versions are good too.
Yeah, they are. Yeah.
But they were very special back then, and maybe they were easier to get in Tennessee, but Jack Daniel's limited things are always next to impossible to get in Kentucky, and that one was no different. But speaking of Kroger, we had just happened to walk in. Well, that was during COVID, and where nobody was really doing any drinking, and
or going out to liquor stores. Right? That's his problem.
Well, some of us were, but but no, just sitting on this top shelf were bottles of that, and they were like, "Oh yeah, we've got more in the back." So
how many cases did that in?
Well, I bought 2 bottles, but they're really good.
Fair enough. Right.
Yes, I should have bought a few cases, but no, we don't like to be greedy. I mean, you like to spread the love and let other people
2 is plenty.
Get things as well.
2 is plenty. So what about Jack Daniels? What else are they doing?
We digressed. So Jack Daniels is ending its decades-long cow feeder program, which provided local cattle farmers with the distillery's corn byproduct known as slop at little to no cost. The program, which helps support livestock operations across Moore County, Tennessee, will officially end on March 31st, 2026. The change comes as the company partners with Michigan-based Three Rivers Energy Partners to convert its distilling byproducts into renewable fuel and fertilizer. While the shift supports Jack Daniel's environmental goals, it has left local farmers facing steep feed cost increases and uncertain futures. Some plan to reduce herd sizes or switch to commercial feed as they adapt to the loss of a critical local resource.
That's got to be a hurt for those farmers, right? I mean, it's great to be able to feed your cattle essentially for free.
Oh yeah.
They paid something for that, but I think it was like less than $10 for what they're getting, which is unbelievably cheap compared to buying feed for cattle. And I did see, I read the newspaper article, they're going to ease this over time, but we're only talking about 6 months. And so,
not much time.
Theoretically, the farmers can transition if they want to do that, but they're going to have to do certainly some economic planning, right, to figure out if they can make it work. And if you don't, you downsize your cattle, your herd. There you go. So,
it sounds like they had made this known a number of years ago.
I think I got that impression.
It's not a big surprise. I mean, when you first read this, you're like, "Oh my, they're being left in lurch." But they actually were made aware of it, according to the article, a number of years ago. And we've talked about the use of stillage to some degree. I mean, Buffalo Trace has that entire partnership with the place where they're going to pump it directly over to it. Yeah. When that gets up and running, and Heaven Hill has a whole drying facility now where they're going to be selling it for other uses. So there's developed a very large industry around doing things with used
because
stillage.
There's too much of it just to feed cattle. And I mean, this Three Rivers turns this into renewable fuel and fertilizer. So it's not like they're just dumping it. I mean, I get it. It's environmentally friendly. They're going to be able to reuse it. And conceivably, instead of giving something away, they can use it to, either generate income or reduce their costs. And, even distilleries have to be efficient and economic. So.
Oh, yeah. I mean, they've gone through the phase of giving it away to they have more to give away than anybody wants to then there's no opportunities to sell it to recoup some money and help the environment by recycling a product. I mean, not that it wasn't basically being recycled as cattle feed, but yeah, I mean, we've talked about all the cutbacks distilleries have made and things they're selling off. So, it's hard to think that it's unreasonable for Brown-Forman to try to make some money from their stillage rather than
give it away, right? and have to worry about giving it all away.
Right.
It'll be interesting to see how this evolves with other distilleries, because as you mentioned, other distilleries are looking for alternative uses for their stillage. I think with a decline in production, some of that will sort of self-correct, but
I think there's a large demand because there's enough of a demand that my understanding is there's now basically stillage brokers that you will sell it to, and then they will handle where it goes on to its next phase. I mean, it doesn't take long before middlemen pop up.
Of course, right? Yeah,
pretty much every industry.
Money to be made, yes.
But so that's telling you that the kind of money that can now be made if there's now enough to. So previously it was just whatever the distillery worked out with whoever they were giving it to or selling it to. Now there's enough in the pie that a third party can make money, and everybody's still going to be happy. So very happy enough to invest in like these drying gigantic things, which so very very interesting.
Yeah, another way where there's the bourbon industry is we hear about grain to glass, but even in between, there's all these different industries it supports and people that it supports, and sometimes that's really overlooked. And this is just another example of how this is gonna create jobs, maintain jobs, right? And
some distilleries are using it for themselves, and plan on being completely like carbon neutral and self-sufficient in a number of years. So, yeah, it's very interesting. I mean, if you go to the Beam conference, they always talk about this kind of stuff. So. Yeah, so pros and cons of everything, but it's unfortunately not great for those farmers, because I'm sure even if they had 3 years to look around, you're probably not going to replace it with something that costs the price of that.
You're undoubtedly going to have increased costs, and you've got to do the economic modeling to see if you can make it work or not.
So that part is unfortunate, but we can see why what happened.
Yep.
All right, so next, CraftCo has announced the reopening of its Holland, Michigan tasting room as the newly reimagined CraftCo Distillery and Social House, formerly known as Coppercraft Distillery Tasting Room. The refreshed venue brings together CraftCo's full portfolio of award-winning premium spirits, which include Coppercraft, Flying Ace, Fox and Odin, Thatcher's Organic Artisan Spirits, and Joseph A. Magnus & Co. under one roof. The new space offers handcrafted cocktails, curated food pairings, seasonal events, exclusive on-site only releases, private barrel selections, and guided distillery tours. Ali Anderson, CEO of CraftCo, noted that the reopening represents our roots in Holland and offers our guests a place to truly connect. The CraftCo Distillery and Social House officially opened to the public, a week and a half ago, October 1st, 2025. So...
again, focusing on a tourism aspect of it, another income revenue generator. You probably know, Ed, and I don't. Does Coppercraft or CraftCo actually distill anything? I got the impression they're just an NDP that's taking other people's products and blending, branding, and that's what they do. But I don't know. I couldn't tell from the website.
I don't honestly know that much about them. I had heard about them probably for the first time. Well, I've seen Coppercraft, but as far as this parent company, it was only like within the past year that I had any idea that Joseph Magnus was now in Michigan, because that's not where they began.
I've seen Joseph Magnus for years.
Yeah. And so I don't know the specifics of many of these places. Generally we don't talk about openings and closings as much unless they're in our area for selfish reasons. But no, but no, this sounded so big, and people live in a lot of people live in Michigan.
Right.
But I mean, the fact it's got all of these brands in it, I felt that this was more than just, a passing interest. I think if I lived up there, I would certainly be checking this out, because look at all the different things you can check out under one roof.
Yeah.
And that's pretty.
Yeah, no, that's pretty cool. The Joseph Magnus line has some interesting things. In looking at the products, Coppercraft has a bunch of RTDs, ready to drink products, and so
they have whiskeys as well,
right?
And so does Fox and Odin. I don't know about Flying Ace.
Flying Ace is focused on military service, and I think a part of each bottle goes to.
I think I've actually seen posts about that, but I don't know.
Yeah, and I think the Thatcher's Organics are more botanicals. I didn't see any brown water products under the Thatcher's label. So,
but Magnus, I'm a big fan of. I mean, that I've been familiar with for years.
And like I say, that's a broad span of products across those 5 lines. So,
and if you can go to one place and try all those, I mean, sign me up. It's pretty cool. So, all right. So everybody in Michigan who goes there, let us know what it's like.
Yeah, give us some feedback.
All right. So moving back to our neck of the woods, Chicken Cock Whiskey, one of America's oldest whiskey brands, is expanding to Louisville with the opening of a new tasting room in the city's Nulu neighborhood. The new location marks the second of the brand's circa 1856 tasting rooms, following the original opening in Bardstown, Kentucky in 2024, and it's now part of the Kentucky Bourbon Trail. That one is. I suppose this, I don't know if this one winds up being it by default. But set to open this fall, the space will feature curated flights, guided tastings, craft cocktails, and limited edition releases in a stylish, heritage-inspired environment. And I was quite surprised, actually, to hear this, because the one in Bardstown only opened...
It's just brand new,
like
right?
it just said, 2020 last year.
I mean, I know it looked busy during the Bourbon Festival, but I didn't have a chance to go. But they had a...
That's a good time to judge things.
Right, exactly, right. So I know they had a release.
It's a cool place.
Yeah, it looked like a really neat place. So, I'll get back there and try it out one of these days. But again, the tourism aspect of things, trying to diversify the revenue streams. If you can sell it, if you can sell a tourist some of your bourbon and some other things and make profits that way, helps ease the pain, perhaps, of not being able to sell as much bourbon as you used to, which I think is happening across the board.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know how much they're affected. I mean, clearly, they've opened 2 tasting rooms in a very short time. Yeah. And, I mean, this just goes more towards how Louisville is doing quite the job. It's like every couple of weeks we're talking about another tasting room opening in Louisville, with some of them coming from out of state, which is even more surprising. Right. So, I mean, I think it's showing. Well, I guess we'll see if we could ever see the numbers, if there's a shift in what people are doing when they're coming to Kentucky. I mean, are they all happy to just hang out in Louisville, visit 20 different distilleries' tasting rooms, or will people still want to make the trips to the individual distilleries themselves, which entails a lot more? I mean,
it does, a
lot more time, transportation issues.
Right. I mean, there's lots of people that provide tours. There's a huge industry there. I think there were over 3 million visitors last year on the Bourbon Trail, and so you're right. It's going to be interesting to see how that plays out. Will it get overbuilt like the actual distilleries and production have, so that we start seeing those go away? And I hope not. I mean, I hope there's still enough demand. I wouldn't be satisfied just going to tasting rooms. I would do it. Like, we're fortunate I can drive to Louisville for the weekend to go to some tasting rooms and so forth and so on, knowing that I can take a distillery tour also pretty much whenever I want. If you're coming in from out of state, I would want to be doing distillery tours because you're not going to be able to see that anywhere else.
But I don't know, talking to a lot of people, I mean, there's a lot of people do have that feeling, seen one distillery, seen them all.
True.
Which I mean, I guess it depends what your level of interest is. If you just want to see how it's made, that's true. But every one of them does something different. And I've been to, I don't even know how many times I've visited distilleries now, but it's well into the multiple hundreds. And I learn something every time, and the different distilleries all do something differently. I mean, if you're not really interested in it at that level, then I suppose if you've seen one, you've seen them all. But if you are, then you'll want to go to them still. But nonetheless, I mean, I know these tasting rooms are pretty popular. Mm-hmm. So a lot of people, I think, are happy just going to the tasting rooms, trying a flight of.
Well, and yeah, and true, and you can build a local following there too. You can have regulars, right? I mean, there's nothing that says you can't have folks that work downtown or live downtown visit those places on a regular basis, and so it's not.
Well, many of them will have to expand their hours because a lot of them, close fairly early.
They do.
They're not set up to be your bar you go to, for the most part. Some of them are open later.
Yeah,
and I've seen it seems like more and more they're adding later hours. Mm-hmm. But certainly when they started, they were all pretty limited in how late they went, with just one or two that were open later. Now, I have no idea what Chicken Cock's hours are going to be like, or
right.
Many of the others that we've talked about.
And I mean, they're all evolving because
they're
not. I mean, the law that allowed those isn't that old. I think it's less than 5 years old, and so we're going to see it evolve. We'll see a natural evolution in that market without a doubt.
No, and many of them are clustered together. Mm-hmm. So, it's if one starts. The thing is, right now they're in neighborhoods that get not Nulu, but the ones on Whiskey Row. Yes. I mean, that gets pretty quiet later in the evening.
Right.
But if they're all open, it would no longer be quiet. But somebody has to take the first step.
That's right.
But then if they're all open till midnight, then there's a reason for people to come down there because now there's 8 different things you can go to.
I mean, it's in walking distance of the Performing Arts Center down there, 21C Hotel and Restaurant. There are things to do down there. 4th Street Live. You can walk in all those areas. Mm-hmm. But I know ever since COVID, downtown Louisville has struggled, I think, a little bit to come back from a tourism standpoint. So.
Yeah, it depends on there. I mean, Nulu stays pretty busy.
Yeah.
But the Whiskey Row, certainly, it's a different, more of a daytime. But anyway, it's all evolving and interesting to see how it goes.
We'll let you know how it evolves right here on this podcast.
All right. So moving on. Sagamore Spirit has announced the promotion of Ryan Norwood to Master Distiller after nearly a decade with the award-winning Maryland Rye Distillery. Norwood, who joined the company in 2016 and played a key role in defining Sagamore's signature flavor profile, most recently has served as Vice President of Operations. In his new role, he will oversee innovation and production, continuing to shape the character of Sagamore's rye whiskey while honoring its Maryland heritage. Norwood has contributed to major releases, including 10-year-old straight rye whiskey, review coming soon. It's very good.
Mm-hmm. I'm sure it is. Yes.
High Rye Bourbon, which was a huge surprise to me. Mm-hmm. That's a brand new release. We really need to try that. And the Baltimore Ravens Festivus Maximus Small Batch Rye, which we have not tried, but talked about.
But we talked about, and more sports and bourbon. So that's a good pairing. So.
By an American company.
Yeah, that's right. Yes. Yeah, so I think that's great. They're promoting from within. He's done his time as VP of Operations. He's clearly learned. He probably knows more about the operations or perhaps anybody there except the founders. And so I think that's a wonderful development for them. I always like their products. I just got a single barrel, from them online. I think it's 9 years old, not 10. But looking forward to trying that and enjoying it.
Yeah. No, I've been a fan since early on with them. So 10 years, that's a long time. I mean, that's almost at the beginning. Or
that's right.
That is the beginning.
Yeah.
So, yeah. All right. So interesting to see what will come.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Next, Pursuit Spirits, founded by the creators of the Bourbon Pursuit podcast, has announced its first international expansion through a partnership with European distributor N10 Bourbons, which, reading about it, I think we've talked about like 6 months ago, maybe. The brand's award-winning Pursuit United, or maybe you were on vacation again.
I don't remember that. That doesn't mean anything. I don't remember things.
Could have been Karen I spoke about it with. But the brand's award-winning Pursuit United bourbons and ryes are now available in the United Kingdom and European Union. The launch includes Pursuit United Bourbon and Rye, 88 proof, Pursuit United Double Oaked Bourbon and Rye, 108 proof, and limited allocations of Pursuit United Barrel Proof Bourbon and Rye. The initial rollout will be available via the Whiskey Exchange in UK, colibrispirits.com, and Dein, Dein, whiskey, without an E, millionth.de in EU markets. And I'm sure you can find those online and not have to rely on my pronunciation.
If you're in the European Union or the UK.
Well, they probably sound familiar to you if you're...
Exactly, yeah. They probably do. So I think that's a great expansion for those gentlemen. I think I hope they can cut out a slice of that market. And, they're going to be a somewhat unique product. I don't know how much of obviously the big six are over in Europe in some form or fashion. I don't know how many craft distillers are over there, and they're not even a distiller; they're an NDP, right?
Yeah.
So,
no, at first I thought, well, I guess it was my understanding that, like for some of these things, like the double oak bourbon, that they're having trouble. I mean, it's in such demand that supplying enough of it that people want. So, expanding to other markets, I guess I wonder about the volumes. But I mean, the way this will work would be like the easiest way to do it, because it's not like you have to go to all these individual stores. You're just getting in the online platform. So it should be a pretty painless way to do it. I guess, they just have to have the production to, I mean, I have no idea what the projected sales are in Europe, but they do have listeners worldwide.
They do, and if
we might have one listener worldwide,
that one in Tanzania, I know. Yeah, they do have a distillery. I don't know if they're actually producing product or not. If they are, it's certainly not ready to bottle, and so they're perhaps taking advantage of the decline in prices of already filled barrels, right? And they've obviously have good sources.
But they've haven't they contract distilled most of their things at the three main distilleries? I thought maybe some of it's come from existing stocks, but they also have things that
I don't know. Maybe they
contract distilled.
I'm pretty sure they contracted stuff at BBC, but I don't know about others.
No, I thought at Finger Lakes, and I don't know about Sagamore.
Okay,
but,
yeah.
And
that would make
I'm
sense because they use those. So,
but I mean, it sounds like this almost sort of sounds like, why not do it? Because if you could plug in, get the exposure on the online sites, I suppose not having enough product would be a good problem to
that's
have.
right.
And
then
you just if ramp up production.
We've all been on the websites where you're trying to find something and no longer available or sold out. I mean, you don't want that all the time, but if they have growth problems that they can't fill all the orders, that's a good problem to have. You can probably figure out how to fix that.
Well, you don't necessarily not want it all the time. It's worked quite well for the majority of
right?
many of Buffalo Trace's products. I mean, tell people they can't have it, and they're gonna want it more. There's really no better marketing than let word of mouth and
there you go.
Things like that. I don't know. So good for them. We'll see.
Yeah.
See how that works out. Alrighty, so the next story, the Kentucky Distillers Association, the KDA, has announced that the Commonwealth now holds a record 16.1 million barrels of aging bourbon, the highest in history, and part of a total 17.1 million barrels of aging spirits across the state. However, this milestone comes as distilleries face a record $75 million in aging barrel taxes, marking a 27% increase from 2024 and a staggering 163% rise in the past 5 years. Kentucky remains the only place in the world that taxes barrels while they age. KDA President Eric Gregory describes the record as a mixed blessing. While the state boasts 127 licensed distilleries operated by 103 companies, creating jobs and attracting nearly 3 million visitors annually through the Kentucky Bourbon Trail, rising taxes, global trade uncertainty, and shifting consumer trends are posing significant challenges for the industry. Relief is expected through the 20-year phase-out of the barrel tax enacted by the Kentucky General Assembly in 2023, with the first 4% reduction beginning next year. Gregory emphasized the need for continued cooperation with policymakers and the importance of tariff-free international trade to sustain global growth. Every one of our 17.1 million barrels represents a Kentucky bourbon promise to our farmers, our workforce, our communities, and bourbon lovers worldwide, Gregory said. We will innovate, problem solve, adapt, and come out stronger than ever.
So that sounds to me like there's going to be a couple years of crunch where you've got all these barrels, you're going to have to pay taxes on them. that tax is slowly going to decline. But at the same time, sales are declining, and so the revenue you would normally be getting to pay off those barrel taxes is going down. It may put a squeeze.
Well, and if the barrels are sitting,
right?
Would you like some more?
I'm good right now, thank you, though. So yeah, and barrels don't monetize until you bottle them or sell them to somebody else, right? So
look at the color on this.
Oh, isn't it beautiful?
It is beautiful.
Yeah. It's a lovely, lovely rye. So
it is. So yeah, I mean, there's so much at play here. So for people who aren't familiar with this barrel tax, so the whole point of like bottled and bond and bonded warehouses was that you didn't have to pay tax on aging whiskey until you took it out and bottled it. And for, not unclear reasons, because it's a huge amount of revenue for the state, but it is unclear reasons why it sort of exists in Kentucky, that it just defeats the entire purpose of the whole bonded system. You're not paying federal taxes, but you're paying state taxes the whole time these whiskeys are aging, and you're not selling any. And so the numbers, the increase isn't like they're paying more tax per barrel now. That increases because there's way more barrels.
Right, exactly.
And then to your point, if you're not selling them, they're going to sit in the warehouse longer. Right. You're going to pay even more. You're just not going to be able to afford to hold on to these barrels.
A lot of this money goes towards local governments, and that was one of the issues they had. That's one of the reasons it's being phased out over 20 years, because especially in places like Bardstown, it supports things like schools and fire departments and things like that. So it's a good source of funds for local communities and counties. 20 years is a long time to phase out, and I just think
except if you remember how that goes, that 20-year phase out, it doesn't happen if the counties are not have a significant loss of revenue and then they can no longer function without it. There was that little asterisk in there.
Yeah.
So it'd be interesting to know how much gets phased out.
Maybe we're going to end up with the same deal that Kentucky Owl tried to make. Is like, here, Bardstown, we're going to give you 1,000 barrels, and you can do whatever you want with them, but we can't pay the taxes this year.
Yeah,
I don't think that's going to fly either. Don't get me wrong.
No, it's not. I mean, I think the numbers were staggering that they pay in taxes, but when bourbon was selling like hotcakes or bourbon, it was much easier to swallow, if you'll excuse the series of puns.
Sorry, listeners.
When things, it's the barrel strain of rye talking.
There you go.
But with sales declining, this isn't going to be something that distilleries are. It's going to hurt. I mean, it'll if there's less production, but you still are paying these taxes, because you can't cut these taxes. You can cut your production costs. You can lay off people, which nobody wants to see. You can shut down distilleries like, Diageo's been doing. But the taxes go on. The only way you can get rid of them is to move these out of Kentucky.
Right. And so I wonder if we won't see some of that. I mean, there were years when Brown-Forman actually distilled, barreled in Kentucky and moved them across the river to Jeffersonville and let them age there for years to avoid this barrel tax.
Well, I believe there are some Kentucky distilleries that are building warehouses in Indiana for just that reason. The climate is very similar. And remember, folks, you can call it a Kentucky bourbon. It only has to be here over a year. Mm-hmm. So if you take it after the year and move it to Indiana, it's a 15-year Kentucky bourbon 15 years from now, even though the majority of its life was spent in Indiana.
Right.
So there is that, and I'm sure everybody who's involved in the decision-making is very aware of that fact.
And again, it's going to be the craft folks, right? The people that can't afford to build a rickhouse in Indiana. I mean, maybe we'll see a business where there's, you can rent space in rickhouses, right? If you're a producer, maybe we'll see some of that. But I see it more the smaller, mid-sized craft distillers perhaps getting more of a crunch here.
Well, but now I'm reaching back into my memory of all these things. But don't they pay a lower tax?
I don't know. That's a great question.
I think they do, and then there was going to expire, and then that was going to totally kill them. Mm-hmm. And so I don't know whatever happened with that. Now I'm not sure if that's the barrel aging tax or if that's the tax, the excise taxes and the things like that that get paid. It may not be this aging tax. That may be the same for everybody.
Yeah, but, I do not know that.
But I mean, that's going to be a little unsustainable if you're not selling things, but you have to pay a crazy tax.
And we're the only place in the world that does this.
And that's
the other thing. That's what sticks in the distiller's craw, and rightly so. I know the KDA hates this. So
yeah. So, all right. Well, we have more stories than I thought, so I guess we need to pick up the speed. So Barrel Global, a U.S.-based barrel ownership platform, has been named an official spirits partner of Peaky Blinders through a licensing agreement with Banijay Rights. Under the partnership, Barrel Global will produce and distribute a line of Peaky Blinders branded spirits, beginning with a rollout in the U.S., Canada, and Mexico in early 2026. And I only included this because I think Peaky Blinders is was at least an extremely popular TV series in Britain.
Yeah, I mean it's apparently gotten a broader worldwide distribution. I mean, they continue to make shows, make Peaky Blinders episodes. I can't say I'm familiar with it, but it's going to reach a global audience. What's unclear to me is Barrel Global is essentially a barrel brokerage. I didn't see anything that indicated they had production or bottling capabilities.
Well, they must have agreements. I mean,
that's what I'm thinking. They've reached agreement. So it sounds like they're sort of expanding what they're doing. And if you're a barrel broker, that would make sense because there's fewer barrels being bought and sold, right? So, hey, how else do we get into the market and the middleman thing, like you were talking about earlier? How do we get some of the money going back and forth here?
Yeah, and I guess their target markets now are more like the U.S. and it's those the markets that have developed for the show through the streaming of the show.
Yeah.
So, and I also thought this was interesting because it's being presented just like it's brand new. But then I knew I had heard this before. So the first line of Peaky Blinders spirits was released in 2017, which this apparently has nothing to do with. And then Bushmills also had a collaboration and had a special release, which was more recent. I think that was 2022 or something like that, which I also remembered. So then when I read this, I was like, so is this the continuation of those? But apparently this is a whole brand new, starting from scratch, collaboration and line of spirits.
Yeah.
So,
it'll be interesting to see what comes out. It'll be interesting what kind of spirits they're going to use to support this show and how they work together and just how they're going to work that. So it's
but we don't even know if these are whiskeys, for that matter. We don't know the price points. We don't know anything about them at this point.
Right.
And then, it is now then joining the never-endingly, increasingly crowded celebrity spirits, which, I mean, they're about to probably outnumber other brands at this point if you take all different lines of spirits and wine. I mean, the number's just enormous. But that's a topic for another day. So let's move on. Oh, that's right. We need to talk about a bankruptcy. So a federal bankruptcy judge in Texas has rejected the plan by Stoli Group and Kentucky Owl to pay off $78 million in debt using 35,000 barrels of bourbon, calling the current whiskey market dismal and warning of a race to the bottom in pricing. Judge Scott Everett said he had too many doubts about the barrel's collateral value. Fifth Third Bank, the lender, objected to the plan, citing depressed barrel valuations. A status hearing was set for Wednesday, and maybe Dean knows what happened, and the judge has encouraged the parties to propose alternative solutions. Earlier, majority stakeholder Yuri Scheffler asked the court to approve the plan, attributing financial distress to a ransomware hack, as well as injustices blamed on Russian President Putin, while criticizing Fifth Third for liquidity constraints. And honestly, the more you read about this, the whole involvement by the Russian government in Stoli's problems is pretty amazing, at least by the allegations, but that's beyond the scope of today's show.
It is.
I went down the rabbit hole of reading about all that.
We are not going to get into world politics, at least not on this level.
But to make a long story short, they wanted the distilleries to be assume national ownership by the Russian government, and Stoli is like, nuh-uh. And next thing you know, there's a cyber attack.
Right. Yeah.
So not to point any fingers, but that's why they're pointing fingers.
Right, exactly.
And plus they confiscated the distilleries anyway.
In Russia.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, that's... you can. There's a provision in the bankruptcy law where you can exchange the collateral. And the example he uses, I've got a car. Instead of paying you, and I wish. If you borrowed money to buy that McLaren, which you'd have to do for most people, you could, in a bankruptcy anyway, you could just give that car back.
The podcast, take the proceeds.
There you go. You wouldn't have to pay the bank any more money. You could just give them the car back, right? That's an option in the bankruptcy world. But it didn't work for Stoli or for Kentucky Owl in this case. And, I mean, Fifth Third has a legitimate point. First of all, if you think about it, Fifth Third doesn't want to be a barrel broker. They don't have a retail market for bourbon. They don't have a license, right? They
have to deal with finding somebody to sell them.
Exactly. Right. And so it automatically drops the value, makes it a wholesale value, if you will, rather than a retail.
Right.
They were going to give the bank a lien against the real estate. They own some real property in Bardstown where they're going to build a fantastic, venue that never happened.
But it's an undeveloped quarry.
It is. But it has to have some value, and my sense is that Fifth Third doesn't now have a lien on that, or else they wouldn't have offered to give them one. But here's what I see perhaps coming, looking into my crystal ball. I don't know what happened at the status conference. The judge will give them a chance to come up with an alternate plan to pay back Fifth Third, but Kentucky Owl could very easily just throw up its hands and say, look, we're paying attorneys a lot of money. We're not generating money. We're going to convert this to a different kind of bankruptcy called a Chapter 7, where they would have a trustee who's just going to liquidate the assets that they have. That's going to bring even less money for Fifth Third. And so if it works the way it should in the bankruptcy world, Fifth Third and Kentucky Owl come to the table and they give each other the worst case scenarios and they find something that's better for everybody. And I don't know what that is. They need some creative thinkers there to figure out how to get the most value for what is there.
Now, this is Stoli America, right?
Yes.
So it's not just... So is that rum company down in Louisiana as well?
Well, so there's two bankruptcies. Kentucky Owl is a separate bankruptcy.
Right, but the Stoli
is a separate one. I don't know if it includes that rum company or not. I assume it includes all their American operations and facilities, because I don't think those are all separate companies, but I'm not sure on that. Yeah.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how this turns out. I actually just reviewed the Kentucky Owl Batch 13.
Yeah, I saw that, yeah.
But we talked about it when it was released. And,
right.
But $399 for a $750.
It's hard.
That doesn't sound like you're trying to get money back quick. No. I don't know. I mean, it's hard to sell in that price range.
It is.
So I know. Yeah, I don't know, but it'll be interesting to see how this.
Yeah, well, and they owe Bardstown Bourbon Company almost $7 million.
Yeah, it was huge
for storage and things like that. So Fifth Third is not the only person out there with their hand out to Kentucky Owl.
And I guess I learned in this that Fifth Third is a much larger bank than I had actually thought, seeing it in downtown there. But it's got much larger scope.
It does. Yeah, they're certainly a regional. I don't know if they're national, but they're regional. They got a big tower in Cincinnati too. So,
all right. So brings us to our last news story, which is also a new releases. I thought I'd put it here because we'd have more time, which is not the case, but but it is both news and new releases. So Buffalo Trace has unveiled its 2025 Buffalo Trace Antique Collection, BTAC, celebrating its 25th release, and introduces E.H. Taylor Bottled in Bond as a new permanent addition alongside its 5 legacy expressions. All bottles carry an SRP of $149.99, and the 2025 expressions include E.H. Taylor Bottled in Bond Bourbon, which is 15 years, 4 months, and bottled at 100 proof. Eagle Rare 17-year-old Bourbon, 18 years, 4 months, bottled at 101 proof. George T. Stagg Bourbon, aged more than 15 years, 4 months, bottled at 142.8 proof. Sazerac 18-year-old rye whiskey, aged 18 years, 5 months, bottled at 90 proof. Thomas H. Handy rye whiskey, aged over 6 years, bottled at 129.8 proof. And William LaRue Weller Bourbon, aged 14 plus years, bottled at 129 proof. So that's quite the collection, and it's been over almost 2 decades since E.H. Taylor has been, since a new
one has a new
brand has been added, which is E.H. Taylor now, and the prior one was the Thomas H. Handy. It's hard to believe, 20 years.
Yeah, I know, that's amazing. So
it's only been around 25.
Yeah, it makes sense to me because they've got aging E.H. Taylor stocks now that they can. I assume they're getting a premium for that, although you can get an E.H. Taylor single barrel. You know probably better than I do. They age state those? I'm not sure they do age state the single barrels.
Not normal ones.
No, right. And they're not $150, which I think is what this one's going to command. So, it's...
Actually, that's interesting. So, they're bottled in bond, I guess, but they don't actually... Because you don't actually have to have all that information. You used to.
Right.
But you don't. Mm-hmm. So I don't think they have an age on it.
I don't think there's an age statement on the single barrels.
No, because they don't have a distilled and bottled. It's just that we're trusting that...
Yeah, well, it's. I think we could tell if it wasn't wasn't at least 4 years old, but who knows, right?
Well, no, but it has to be the same distilling season and stuff, which is why it used to be marked on the labels. But a lot of the bottled and bond labeling requirements have vanished over the years, along with the tax stamp. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. So now, I mean, it's become a little more of a leap of faith than it was intended.
Right. Well, it's still going to be hard to find them.
I trust
Sazerac to do the right thing here. Yes.
No, I mean,
they don't need to. They have no need to mislead consumers. So
no, there's certainly no reason to cast any doubt. And but it is interesting how a lot of the bottled and bond things have dropped over the years. Mm-hmm. But what I think is going to be in demand, I mean, Stag is back to its heyday here, 142.8. Right. That's going to be...
I agree.
That's going to be the baby of this collection. I mean, sure, it's nice to have a new Taylor, but it's 100 proof. Mm-hmm. This 142.8 proof Stag is going to be the one that is going to be really difficult to get.
Yeah.
And yeah, I would love to find one of those. Stag is always my favorite.
They're always the best, right? Yeah. Although I will say I like the Thomas Handy quite a bit. Because
I do, which is what's... But it's really good, and it's way better than the Saz 18 ever is, at least in my experience with them.
I agree, yeah.
So, so people are, why is it 6 years? What's it doing in there? Well, I don't know, but it's pretty darn good at 6 years.
Yes.
So I expect it to be pretty good this year, too. I agree. It has often been my second favorite.
Yeah. So, if you've got your favorite liquor stores, these are coming out, put your plug in to see if they'll, divert one to you, right? So,
I mean, the good thing...
You're probably not going to see it on the shelf, just laying out there.
No, but I mean, the good thing about these is the Thomas Handy is actually the one that you can usually find for not a huge markup. It's, I don't know, it doesn't get the respect that it deserves. I think it's outstanding for a 6 year, in my opinion. Mm-hmm. But whatever that's worth. All right. Well, that about does it for this episode. I hope you have enjoyed this edition of the Bourbon Obsessed Bourbon and Distillery News Podcast, your commercial-free and therefore money-free bourbon podcast. Please be sure to join us next Monday for our new Bourbon Releases News Podcast. Maybe things will be winding down a bit, but we got rid of 5 of them right here. 6, maybe not. Also, be sure to like and follow us at your preferred podcast provider so that you don't miss an episode. And don't forget to tell all your friends, too. You can also head over to bourbonobsessed.com to check out some of our over 350 bourbon reviews and over 50 distillery write-ups. While you are there, you can also sign up to have my newsletters delivered directly to your inbox. Finally, I can be found on Instagram at bourbon_obsessed and on Facebook at Bourbon Obsessed, and would love for you to follow me there as well. Dean, where can they find you?
Folks will find me on Instagram at Dean of Bourbon with underscores, and I appreciate anybody who is willing to follow me. I do not blow up your Instagram feed. It's usually once a week if you're lucky. So,
all right. Sounds good. Well, thanks for joining us, everybody.
Thank you all.
Cheers.